Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcajani here. Today I have Nagina Abdullah. Today we're going to be chatting with her about her summit coming up or her program coming up for midlife women that want to boost and enhance your metabolism. I think all women could use some of these principles to enhance your metabolism. So we're going to dive in. Even if you're not in that category, I think there's going to be a lot of good tips here out of the gate. Nagina, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me, Dr. Justin.
Excellent. So I know you have a boot camp coming up, right? And so this is going to be catered to more midlife women, but other people in those kind of vicinity could still benefit.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this is going to be a free live 5-day metabolism boost workshop for midlife women. And
Love it.
this is all about exactly what to add to your diet that's all natural so that you can feel full and satisfied. And it's going to boost your metabolism. It's going to burn fat faster. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do step by step, starting with your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and also my biggest day where I'm going to be teaching you on day 4 of the 5-day metabolism boost of how to get off sugar without feeling tired or restricted. And these strategies work quickly.
Oh, that's awesome. We're going to put a link right below, justinhealth.com/metabolism-boost. We'll put a link right below if you guys want to dive in. That'll take you right there where you can sign up and get access to the free workshop. So let's just dive in here first. So tell me about yourself. How did you get into the health field? And are you practicing some of the things that you're talking about out of the gates? I'm just curious how you kind of walk this path.
Absolutely. Well, I had struggled with my sugar cravings. I'd struggled with my weight for my entire life. And I was somebody that knew every single calorie count of every food that I was eating. But if you looked at me, you would never realize that because I never looked like I was healthy, but I was doing everything. So I just didn't know what
Mm,
to do or how to do it. And my metabolism always felt like it was slow. And so I was always wanting to lose about 20 pounds, always throughout my life, and trying every single diet out there from Weight Watchers to Noom later on. Then I was also trying South Beach, Atkins, just eating less and tracking my food with such diligence. And, I would be able to lose 5 or 10 pounds, but then when I would hit that number, I would start eating all the foods that I had restricted myself from because I loved those foods so much.
mhm,
And so the
mhm.
weight just came right back on. And so I was never able to keep it off. And I was always in this diet yo-yo cycle. But then what changed for me is that after I had children, I was really at my maximum weight. I was working in a very demanding job. I had pregnancy weight on me, but I
Mhm,
had
mhm,
a new why. And my why was that I
mm.
wanted to have more energy for myself in my later years, but also for my children to be able to be an energetic mom, to be active, to be somebody that they could look up to as a health role model. And so I started researching a lot of information. Now I have a background with a degree in molecular and cell biology from UC Berkeley. And so I
Mhm,
started
mhm.
going into the scientific research that I had access to. And I found out that instead of depriving myself, I could add foods and they would actually boost my metabolism and I
Mm.
would no longer have to diet. And so I started doing those things. And with such surprise and such excitement, I lost not only the 20 pounds I'd always wanted to lose, but I lost 40 pounds in only
Whoa.
9 months. I got to the most fit I had ever been in my life. And now, what's even better is that it's been over 12 years since that happened, and the weight has stayed off permanently. And I've just been able to get more toned and more fit. And now, literally, my kids have to keep up with me. And that is what they always tell me. They're like, Mom, I don't want to do all those things. We need to slow down. And I'm like, let's go, let's go. So, so that's really what happened to me is that I found out that it wasn't as hard as we have been taught that it is. And so
Mhm.
my mission in life became to help other women, especially women in midlife, because that's when weight really starts to get more challenging, help them to bust through and burn fat faster and really work on their metabolism. And it really is possible to do this by making some easy, simple food choices and some swaps and some additions. And you can really start watching your belly fat slim down. You can start watching your fat melt away.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's just kind of talk about some of the simple principles. What was your diet or lifestyle like before you had before you kind of address some of these weight loss issues and boost your metabolism? What was a typical day like for you? Were you eating a lot of
Yes.
processed food, standard American diet? Were you having a lot of hormonal issues at that time too? What was going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I always thought I was being healthy. And, that's what I see a lot. A lot of women think they're being healthy, but it's because it's based on all of the jargon that we're hearing that's not necessarily true. So basically what I was doing was eating smaller portions of processed foods. So I would always be looking, and I was very focused on the calories in everything. And I was
Mm-hmm.
calorie counting. I was addressing what the calories were and everything, and just trying to keep my calories as low as possible. And so a typical day would be, me eating something like a skinny bagel. I would try to have a healthier
Mm-hmm.
version, like a skinny bagel with low fat or zero fat cream cheese, and then also having some fruit with it, and having some healthy juice that I thought was healthy, that I thought was helpful for me. And at lunch, I was really trying to be more vegetarian, so I would have more of I would have something like a veggie burger with a bun, and then I would have like some kind of corn or something like that on the side. And
Got it.
so, these are all healthy-ish sounding things. But what I was really lacking, we'll talk so much, we'll talk more about that, but like there were things that it was just the formula of what I had on my plate was not correct. And there was other days that I would just try to skip meals. So I would try to skip my breakfast or skip my dinner. And I would think, okay, well, I'm eating less, I should lose weight. But it
Right.
always led to me actually wanting to binge on some kind of dessert or some kind of
Mm-hmm.
big carb dinner. Like I would try to restrict myself through the day, and then I would end up just like letting go at nighttime. And that cycle like continued over and over.
And so what were some of the big things you plugged in? Like, what's your typical breakfast now? Like, what allows you to feel good, feel pretty energized? What does that look like?
So yes, so then I started learning and taking action on several things that now is in what I call my 4-part fat burning food framework. And so
Mm.
really that starts with this concept, which is a mantra that I say at every meal, and I recommend that everyone says this if you're looking at boosting metabolism, which is protein more. And so
Yep.
I would always
Mm-hmm.
look for protein, and I started with my breakfast adding protein. And so now, my breakfast, though a skinny bagel can work maybe on the weekend. It's not like I don't have that, or forget about the skinny bagel. I'll just have a regular fresh bagel once in a while, but I just won't do that every single day. And so now what I do is I add protein more in a few options for breakfast. So one of the options is, if for people that like eggs, I like eggs. I have an egg breakfast, but let me just kind of bust a myth right now. 2 eggs is only 12 grams of protein.
Yeah,
Each egg is only
exactly.
6 grams of protein.
Not
So if
enough.
you're exactly, it's not enough. And a general, really nice rule of thumb is to have 30 grams of protein. So if you're only getting to that 12 grams of protein, you will crave sugar and you will crave unhealthier foods because your body's just crying out for more. And so if you take action on that and actually proactively add protein, then you're going to feel satiated and very, very full and satisfied. And so a really easy way to do that is you pair those 2 eggs. Either what you can do is an easy if you're making eggs, you can just add a cup of liquid egg whites. And liquid egg whites are 20 grams of protein, and they're lean. They don't have fat because you're getting your fat from your eggs. You're getting what
Mm-hmm.
you need from your eggs. So you just need to get a boost of protein. So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
bump that up to 30 grams of protein, and you're going to eat more, which is another of my mantras. Eat more, because
Right.
then it'll help you lose weight in a healthy way, because you're actually being intentional about what you're eating more of.
Right.
Um, Now, if you're someone that feels like, okay, I don't want to eat that many eggs, or that might be too big of an egg scramble, you could also have the 2 eggs with Greek yogurt. And Greek yogurt is around 18 to 20 grams of protein. These days, there's some really great Greek yogurts out there, like this Oikos 20 that I've just found.
Mm.
You can also do cottage cheese, or any other kind of meat that you might have from the night before, and then pair that with some high fiber fruit. So what I mean by high fiber is usually that's a lower sugar fruit. So berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, or have a small apple or 2 small oranges, like 2 small tangerines. That's going to give you some fiber and lower sugar. And that, in combination with the protein and then the healthy fats from the eggs or from whatever else you may be having, is going to keep you so satiated. It's going to keep your blood sugar stable, and you are actually going to burn fat instead of gaining fat. And so those are what my breakfasts look like. I either do an egg breakfast combined with one of those things. Usually doing the egg white scramble is super easy for me. I put like onions, mushrooms, bell peppers, spinach in it, make it like really nice. I put some hot sauce on it. And then I also have a side of low sugar fruit. But I also sometimes recommend, for myself and for my clients to have a quick smoothie in the morning, which is something that you can just grab and go. And so a smoothie, a really quick formula for a metabolism boosting smoothie is to have a non-dairy milk, because then you're really helping yourself with inflammation by avoiding dairy. So you're having a non-dairy milk like almond milk or water or anything else. You have a protein powder that I absolutely recommend, is a really good thing to add, a low sugar protein powder that's around 25 to 30 grams of protein. If you don't have protein powder, you can use Greek yogurt instead. Then add half a cup of berries, and strawberries taste really tasty in this smoothie. Add a cup of spinach. So you're getting your fiber and your greens and you're not even tasting it. And then I call it my secret ingredient, but adding 2 tablespoons of flaxseed, which give you some extra fiber and keep you very full. And it's a healthy fat as well. And then if you want a little bit of a flavor boost, you could add 6 or so sprigs of mint. And mint has been proven to avoid overeating and avoid sugar cravings, help you avoid sugar cravings. So you can also sprinkle some cinnamon in there, which will help you bring down your blood sugar and help you store less fat. So you blend that up and you're having what I call my morning mint and berry metabolism boosting smoothie. And it's so quick, so easy, and it's also so filling, and it's going to boost your metabolism right away. And you're not even going to want to eat until lunch.
So you got mint, berries. What was your protein?
The protein is protein powder or Greek yogurt.
Like whey protein, collagen, pea protein. What was the kind?
So yeah, I've noticed that you can use any of those. You can use whey protein or pea protein. Collagen protein is something you can add in, but it's not a complete protein. So we want you to have something else. Whey protein, I have noticed, and this is every individual should see if they have this effect. I have noticed that it can create bloating, but it is a really great source of protein. So if your body can handle it, it's good. I recommend an egg white protein, because an egg white protein will absorb the most quickly in your body, and it's going to keep you feeling lean, and it's not going to create that bloating effect.
I understand. Good. And so, all right. So we're looking at kind of your typical breakfast. That's great. Now, what about people that have some food allergy issues? Because I see a lot of dairy in there. How do you parse that? And then are you worried about the egg yolks? Because for me, I see egg yolks as like fat soluble vitamins A, a lot of good healthy choline in there, a lot of good lutein for the eyes. Are you worried about the extra eggs? And are you worried about maybe some of the food allergens or some of the dairy coming in there?
Yeah. So for dairy, I don't recommend too much dairy at all. And that's why I recommend that you have a non-dairy liquid. If you use Greek yogurt, that's an alternative to protein powder. And I do recommend using protein powder first instead of Greek yogurt, just because you're getting more protein in there with how much you're eating, and the calorie to protein ratio is much lower. So the other thing is that with Greek yogurt, that's one of the dairies, along with cottage cheese, that I do recommend that are okay, because they are processed in a way where they take out the sugars, and they're taking out the lactose and all of the things that are causing bloating, causing inflammation as much. And the protein is increased. So those are the 2 dairies I recommend. But other than that, I really don't recommend dairy. But if you want to have your protein in that source, those are 2 options. But in terms of other things like food allergies, yes, if you have a food allergy to any of these foods, you can always swap them with something else. Like you can swap a veggie for a veggie. You can swap a fruit for a fruit. In terms of the eggs, I do want a limitation of 2 eggs, because in that amount, you're getting the fats that you need. You're also getting the cholesterol that you need. If you go more than 2 eggs, you will get too high. But 2 eggs a day is going to be fine. And that's why I recommend pairing it with other lean types of proteins without fat, because you're getting what you need in terms of the fats, the cholesterol, so many other things in the 2 egg yolks. But if you're somebody that has allergies to egg yolks, then that's just one option for a protein item. You can have multiple other things that I mentioned. Or you can have just, other real proteins like any kind of meat. You could have smoked salmon. You can have salmon. You can have a
Mhm.
tofu scramble in the morning, which would be a great replacement as well. So,
Oh, absolutely. And so in general though, are you worried about extra fat? Like, are you worried about kind of counting calories in a way, or worried about the extra fat coming in from yolks and things like that? Or does it depend on each person, kind of where they're at?
So that's such a good question. So I actually, and I'm really happy to talk about this because there's a lot of myths around fat. There's a lot of different approaches to fat. But what I've seen works is that we don't want to count calories, but actually fat is the one macronutrient that I do recommend that you look at your portion sizes. And that's because it is very dense in calories. And so if you're having, for example, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, that's going to be 180 calories, which is a good amount. And that's really all you need. But it's easy to, by mistake, because you're thinking that you're healthy, eat more of it without measuring it or without realizing what you're eating. And then before you know it, you could easily have eaten 400 to 600 calories, which is quite significant. And it's not going to make you feel as full as if you were having protein as some of those calories and having fiber. So
Yeah.
what I recommend is I have a saying, which is fat 3 times a day. And a serving of fat is about 14 grams of fat. So you could have fat in your eggs, for example. Then you have a snack that has nuts or that has peanut butter in an apple. That would be a great snack. That's your
Yep.
second time. And then at night, have a third serving of snack, which would be, or a third serving of fat, which would be a fatty meat. So something like salmon, beef, or if you're vegetarian, have half of an avocado, or have a tablespoon of coconut oil, which is a healthy fat that burns off pretty quickly due to the MCT oils in it.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
really look at the 3 times a day for the fat that you're eating. And that is actually the number 2 reason that I see women in midlife blocking and staying stuck with their weight loss, because they're trying to be healthy, but by mistake, they're significantly overeating on their fat. And it's as easy as just eating a couple extra tablespoons of peanut butter that gets you there. So really keeping this in mind, fat 3 times a day it could literally help somebody lose 2 to 4 pounds in the next week just by making sure it's at that amount.
Yeah, here's my take. I mean, so in general, you kind of have this calorie in, calorie out model, which it's more complex than that, because calories in, calorie out is more of an effect, not a cause, and it doesn't look at the hormonal output that food has. Because we know if you increase glucagon and you increase certain foods like more protein rich foods, that increases neurochemicals like peptide YY, adiponectin. These are things that tell your brain to be full. So as long as you're not like chugging fat down really fat, if you're eating at a slow pace and you give your brain a chance to connect to what you're eating, typically fats and proteins will make you feel more satiated. But like you said, you got 100 calories per bite. And so if you're shoveling things down a little too fast and you don't let your brain catch up to what's coming in, then it's really really easy to overeat when you're consuming just straight fat though.
Oh
Thoughts on that?
yes. Oh yes, absolutely. So it is easier to consume more. And so the thing is, see, this can be tricky because
But
I
it does make you
actually
feel satiated though. So if
oh
you
yeah.
if you pair it up, if you're like, hey, this is a portion, I'm gonna eat that, and I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes to let my brain catch up, then a lot of times you're not like eating 10 minutes past you're actually full, meaning you're letting that signal happen, and then that gears your next food choice because now, oh, I'm gonna step away versus eat more because my brain's catching up to the signals that are happening in my gut.
Yes. So exactly. So being mindful, eating your food slowly and also being aware of what you're eating and being intentional about it is absolutely going to help you. And you will feel more full 10 and 20 minutes after you eat. But the thing is, fat is going to keep you full. It's important as a part of our diet. There's so many, in the past there was so no fat and low fat diets. And what that ends up doing is, first of all, we need fat for our hair to grow, for
Totally.
it to be shiny. We need it for our skin to glow. We need it for our
Yes.
brain to operate. So
Hmm.
if we're eating too low fat, those things aren't going to happen as efficiently, but also you're going to be hungry and you have to eat something. So as an alternative, you're going to end up eating probably sugar and carbs because there's a certain level of protein where we're like, okay, I can't eat anymore. So really looking at this, like that's why I want you to start with protein more and think about, I want you to eat as much protein as you can. And I also have recommended amounts, but it's usually eat a little bit more than you're eating right now. Eat more veggies and make them tasty by
Hmm.
making them like add flavorful spices and low sugar sauces. And then also have a serving of fat 3 times a day so that you know that you're getting it in, because you don't
Yeah,
want to undereat it, but you don't want to overeat it. So,
I
and
agree.
yeah. And so, just to add a little complexity, like, of course, calories are always going to be important, but it's more about the composition of those calories. So,
Yep.
looking at the macronutrients and how much protein, how much fat, how much and what kinds of carbs are you getting? Are these healthy carbs that burn slowly, or are they fast burning carbs that elevate your blood sugar? So really understanding and pairing the types of foods that you're having will take you away from needing to count calories, because you'll just be aware of what your serving sizes are, and then you will be eating the right amount of calories for you to burn fat really easily.
I agree. If you look at Christopher Gardner's A to Z study back, he was in Stanford 2008 or 9. He went into that study giving 4 or 5 different diets, like an Ornish diet, a vegetarian diet, a standard American, a zone diet, and an Atkins diet. And of course, the theory was that the people on the Atkins diet, were going to consume the most calories and potentially gain the most weight because it was more fat, more protein. But the exact opposite happened. The Atkins diet group actually did the best in regards to weight loss, but they actually ate they actually ate less calories than other people, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
the other groups. And the thinking is, oh, these foods allow you to feel a level of satiation that is better than, let's say, a lot of excess carbs or processed foods. And so, like you said, starting your day with that 30 grams of protein really helps get one, it satiates your metabolism. So you're not having cravings later on in the day. And that
Mm-hmm.
puts you up to your not overeating as much. And then you're going to be a little bit more fat burning during the day as well, because you're not overeating and you're not grazing. It's the constant bits of grazing I find that just continue to milk out insulin throughout the day. When you're milking out insulin consistently, you're not able to tap into your own body fat.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. So the feeling of satiation is that was what the game changer was for
Mhm.
me to be able to lose 40 pounds, because all of the ways I had been eating with most of the diets that we learn about was eating, like I said, smaller portions of processed foods, and processed foods don't keep you full. That's why really moving towards real foods that are full of protein, full of healthy fats, full of fiber, which you get in your vegetables, and low sugar fruits, and then and as well as healthy carbs, that's going to keep you full, and then you won't have cravings. And once you don't have cravings, weight loss becomes easy, because you could literally have your favorite, like, cake or donuts or pastries or pizza in front of you, and you would feel completely in control. And that transformation can happen really quickly when you start simply adding protein to your breakfast, and then following and making sure that you're adding the right amount of fat to the day. You won't even feel the cravings. And so you're going to feel a lot more control over your body and your relationship with food.
I love that. That's phenomenal. Now, because we're talking about women in their maybe mid 40s to 50s and such, and the adrenals play a major role as a woman transitions into menopause, because now the adrenals become this backup generator for the ovaries that no longer have their follicles in there because they're used up. That's why they're in menopause. So the adrenals are so important. So we talked about managing blood sugar, dialing in your protein and fat. Where do adrenals come into this whole interplay kind of with you and your philosophy in and around supporting healthy perimenopausal, menopausal health? Where does that come in?
Yes. So, I mean, healthy adrenals are really, I mean, this is all a result of this is of how we're taking care of ourselves. And so,
Mhm.
as you know, if you're eating in a way that you're eating healthy, real foods, that's also going to be really good for your adrenals. You're
Right.
not going to, it's going to, if you're feeling, what we know as adrenal fatigue,
Mhm.
this is likely due to some of the foods that you're eating. And so, when you really try to up level your foods and just move into real foods, eating any processed foods or any carbs that are from a package or from a bag, eating it in a different way, like knowing that you can get carbs in a different way, then a lot of these feelings are just you're going to start to, it's going to start to change. And the effect on our blood sugar and our hormones are also affected, because as you start balancing your blood sugar in the ways that I'm sharing, like by pairing your protein with a healthy fat and then with veggies or a low sugar fruit, what actually happens is that when your blood sugar is not going up and down all the time, it's helping you balance your hormones. And that is absolutely going to help you. That's why so many women are losing weight following this method in menopause and post-menopause, because of this, because they're able to balance their hormones naturally, and then they can also see if they need any additional support after that, but they're able to take a big step in that direction.
I love that, because the adrenals, they manage stress, they manage inflammation, right? Cortisol is a glucocorticosteroid, so it helps with blood sugar and energy. So if you're balancing your blood sugar, then you're not overproducing cortisol, which cortisol can cause belly fat, but it's also a natural anti-inflammatory. So when we get stressed or inflammation or joint issues, we want that cortisol to be there to help with our pain. But also our adrenals produce DHEA, and that's our precursor sex hormone that now we start to rely on because our ovaries aren't coming to the table. And DHEA is that building block that can convert it downstream into all your sex hormones. I see this very low in a lot of my perimenopausal, menopausal women. Do you do any testing on hormones to see kind of where these hormones are at, or how in balance or out of balance they're at?
So I do ask for women that are facing, feeling like they're doing everything right, and facing this frustration of what's happening because there's so many symptoms. It is important for them to get testing. So testing on all of their sex hormones, and understanding what's happening, and then I do look at that. So, but what I've also seen is that in terms of changing, like increasing hormones, a lot of it comes to what we're eating, and then also supplementing after that. But eating a diet that you're having these foods that we're talking about is the number one way to have the foundation. And so many women are actually able to lose significant weight because they're balancing their hormones, because they're eating correctly now. And part of that is, the cortisol aspect, which is it's impacting women in midlife so much more because of these changes that are happening. So when we can really focus on our cortisol, but it also comes with eating in the right way, because that's also causing our cortisol to increase, it's going to really make a big difference. So eating a balanced diet is a permanent way to keep our metabolism high. And then if that's not work, if you want to keep going and you've done everything that you can, then you can add in, hormone replacement therapy and so many other things that are possible, which are really, really healthy and advisable. But if you don't have your diet right and you're skipping your diet and starting with other things, you're going to be feeling like you're in a yo-yo. Like hormones will help with a lot of symptoms, but they won't necessarily help with your weight until you have the right balance of foods and you're really starting with adding that protein in.
I agree, because your foods provide the nutrients and the building blocks to make your hormones. Almost all your sex hormones are cholesterol based. And so we want good, healthy fats, good, healthy cholesterols. Plus, as we age, our skin, our hair, our nails, our bones are being regenerated off the food that we're eating. So as the quality goes down, it's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. Over time, it tends to degrade. And so the food quality really helps with just our overall body's constitution. And then you talked about blood sugar, like just these up and down swings in blood sugar put so much stress on our hormones. So like you said, if we can just kind of curb that off, now our hormones aren't so busy buffering out the ebbs and flows. And you talked about stress, right? Cortisol, people think like, oh, cortisol is a stress hormone. It is, but what it does is it mobilizes glucose so we could run or fight or flee from a saber-tooth tiger. But now we're sitting in traffic, we're stressed, we have all this glucose. It's just like we had a soda. And so even though you're not having a soda, it's like you're having a soda. That's what stress is doing. That's why, from a lifestyle standpoint, I'm like, all right, you're feeling stressed, go for a 10-minute walk. It starts to take that glucose that's in your bloodstream from the cortisol, and it at least curbs it down a little bit. What other strategies do you implement to help, modulate the cortisol outside of the diet stuff? Anything specific?
So, I mean, outside of the diet stuff, I mean, one of the key things for cortisol, like within the diet, number one is to manage your sugar, because sugar is breaking down, and all of those kind of that sugar that's broken down is creating extra stress. But outside of the diet, really just being okay with not taking on as much, being okay, like lifestyle changes with, doing simple things, not needing to say yes to everything, and
Hmm.
actually feeling comfortable with not having a lot on your calendar will
Hmm.
make a huge
Yep.
effect. Also, for many women, we are balancing wanting to be accomplished in our careers as well as having a lot of things going at home. And so sometimes it's balancing and figuring out, what can I change to make that work? And that may mean that you can change something in your work schedule. Like, is there a way that you don't have to be working for, being paid for your time or for your face time? Can you change it so that you're being paid for value versus time?
Hmm.
And really making these actual structural changes in our life can have a huge effect on our stress, and allowing that to happen, knowing that it's okay to say, like, I can't do all this, or I need help with doing this. That's a really, really key part for cortisol and for bringing that down. Um, yep.
Absolutely. And most women, in their mid 40s, right? We'll say we start in the mid 40s, their kids are starting to get, maybe depending on when they had kids, they could be either middle school years or up, or even full
Mhm.
grown, maybe grandkids. And there's a lot more obligations. You're bringing your kids, you're this, you're interacting with grandkids. There's so many things. And like you said, it's so easy to keep on saying yes, 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 yes. And then you don't prioritize yourself at all in the whole
Yes.
process.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then one more thing I wanted to mention, as we were kind of talking about like key changes to make, and I had shared that the number two reason that women in midlife are staying stuck is because they are by mistake eating too much fat. The other thing, around hormones and keeping our hormones balanced and getting our metabolism high is the number one reason that women are staying stuck in midlife is because they're not eating enough. They're actually
Mm,
under eating.
yeah.
And I am seeing this over and over again because we've been brought up in a society where we're supposed to eat less. And like I said, I used to follow a diet where I ate small portions of processed foods and tried to add in fruits and vegetables.
Right.
But that's not actually, then we keep thinking that more is equals weight gain. But actually, you do need to eat enough for your body to produce these hormones, which are in decline. And so a lot of women are facing hypothyroidism, and obviously low estrogen, low progesterone, low testosterone. And when you pull back and you don't eat, it's actually impacting your hormones, which in turn is impacting and increasing your cortisol. Like, your stress is going to go up when you're not eating enough because your cortisol is being released. It doesn't have what it needs. And so one of the biggest ways to take care of ourselves and to give ourselves self-care is to eat enough. And like I said, protein more, and you can eat more. And when you start there and then start making your food taste good and making sure that you're feeling full, you won't have those cravings for other things, but you are going to be eating more. And it's going to feel like sometimes scary. And sometimes once you start doing it and you watch your scale go down, you're going to realize that you need a different approach at this time of life. It's no longer about eating less. We do need to eat more for so many of the reasons that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I agree. And so I always tell patients, when I look at calories, I get very concerned with, especially with women of that age, is are they eating enough? Because low
Hmm.
calories to me automatically means low nutrition. And so we
Hmm.
want to make sure there's adequate nutrition. And if we low calories, then we're not getting enough nutrients. Where do you fit in intermittent fasting? Does that plug into you at all? And again, when I talk about intermittent fasting, it's really compressing your feeding window. But the goal with intermittent fasting is you're still getting enough calories slash nutrients for the entire day. You're compressing it into either a 16 by 8 or an 18 by 6, the smaller number being when you actually eat. How do you integrate that?
Yeah. So intermittent fasting, is absolutely a great strategy. A lot of women want to do it and they do it and they've seen really positive effects on their hormones. But I also see that intermittent fasting, one thing to alert people to is that it can be easy to not eat all the calories you need,
Hmm.
because when you
Great point.
are intermittent fasting, it's like you have a smaller eating window and you just have a structure that you don't eat outside of that. And so unless you're being very, very proactive in making sure you get all of the calories, it's very easy to undereat. And
Yeah.
therefore, intermittent fasting doesn't always work as a weight loss tool for many women if that's what they're using it for, because they're under eating again. And,
I
the
agree.
foods that we've been talking about today, having healthy fats, having more protein, having vegetables with fiber, those foods are actually very filling. So if you
Mhm.
are eating those foods, you almost feel like you can't eat more of those within a shorter feeding window because they're so filling. They're meant to keep you full throughout the day.
I agree.
So you end up going and eating foods that are spiking your blood sugar because they're not as filling. Like foods that are not as filling are going to break down quickly, like fast burning carbs. So
Yep.
those are the foods that you might eat more of so that you can get the calories, but those are not going to have the composition to boost your metabolism.
I
So
agree.
yeah. So I have seen women that I've worked with, that I've worked with them really closely to make sure that they're getting enough to eat if they're intermittent fasting. So it absolutely can work. And what I would recommend is starting your day with water. And then also maybe if you drink coffee or tea, having coffee or tea with cinnamon in it, because that's going to bring down your blood
Mhm.
sugar. Then when you break your fast, starting with your protein more breakfast, the ones that we were talking about earlier, but making sure you're having a lunch and a dinner, or at least another way to do intermittent fasting is to do like 1.5 meals twice a day, but make sure you're getting in protein that you'd have at 30 grams, at 3 times a day. You're getting that into your feeding window. You're getting in those 3 times a day fats into that feeding window. And you're also getting enough vegetables so that you're getting all of the right nutrients, vitamins, and fiber. And so
Yep.
I've actually seen many women lose weight without intermittent fasting. And I've seen that work very well because they're very satisfied and full with these kinds of foods.
And also the intermittent fasting, let's say the hormetic response that you get from it. I've seen women every day is an intermittent fast. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's like it's meant to be an acute stress that your body can't adapt to. If you're doing it
Mhm.
all the time, then your body kind of adapts. And so it may be something you throw in once or twice a week on a non-stressful day. But like you said, make sure that meal is 1.5 times what it typically is, because most of the time it won't be. And also a big thing is before you eat, 10 minutes before, go have your 1 to 2 glasses of really good mineral water that fills your tummy up a little bit. That gets those baroreceptors stimulated, which allows your appetite to go down a little bit, and then you're less likely to overeat too. If you're worried about eating too much, utilize the hydration and get those stretch receptors going too before a meal, about 10 minutes or so.
Yes, that sounds amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is so important. And see, I don't think enough people are talking about this aspect of intermittent fasting. And it's
Mhm.
actually looked at as like a quick, like a quick bullet or a quick kind of like pill type of thing that you can take and it just works. But more women are finding themselves frustrated. And that's because they weren't necessarily overeating, which I can see intermittent fasting has helped with women that are overeating to bring their calories down. But if you're one of the many women that are already under eating, you're only going to get more stuck potentially. But
Yes.
using it, like you said, once in a while to shock and surprise your body is excellent if you do that once in a while.
Yeah, and like I went out to eat last night, and so I had a nice breakfast, but I intentionally missed lunch on purpose. So I did a 10 hour fast during the day because I knew I'd probably maybe overeat a little bit. And so getting a
Hmm.
little bit more into a fasting state, decrease my, get more insulin sensitive, right? So to speak. So you
Hmm.
can work on strategies, or you can do the same thing if you know you're going to have a nice big dinner that day. Maybe you skip breakfast, right? And you can do
Hmm.
that, or add in some cardio or so that morning to kind of deplete glycogen, so you have more storage of carbs later in the day. So I like all those different strategies. Also, too, with intermittent fasting, if your body's under stress, if you have a lot of hormonal stress, restricting nutrients throughout the day isn't a good thing. If someone's
Hmm.
stressed, it's like if you have financial issues, you probably want to get paid every week, not once a
Hmm.
month, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like paying your body with nutrients throughout the day. Then that
Yep.
decreases the stress response because your body's like, oh, I got protein coming in multiple times. I got nutrients and B vitamins and magnesium. So it does decrease that stress response. And then maybe when you get healthier, you can try to finagle that as you get healthier. But if you're not healthy yet, have that good foundation first.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree. And I love how you said that because, otherwise your body's going to be in this starvation mode
Yeah.
of it just doesn't know when it's getting its next meal. And so it's going to
Hmm.
hold on to the fat because it needs
Yep.
fat for fuel and it won't burn your fat as efficiently. And so
Yep.
when you do get into the place where you're eating enough, you're going to know it. because your body, you're going to feel less stressed in your body. It's like your body's just going to be saying thank you. And it's not going to be feeling heavy or, or tired, which happens when you're eating more of the wrong foods. But when you're actually eating these foods, you will feel that your stress goes down. Like it actually goes down by feeding yourself enough. And so that's why really working on lowering stress through what you're eating is a really key way, as well as some of the other lifestyle things we were talking about. But don't skip over the importance of eating enough and eating enough of the right foods. Your body will just be thanking you.
I love it. That's great. And so you got a 5-day boot camp coming up. We'll put the link down below right here so you guys can see it. justinhealth.com/metabolism-boost. BOOST. We'll put the link down for you guys. What else are you going to be going over? Is there anything in regards to specific supplements or herbs? Any other, let's say, biohacking strategies that you come up with? I mean, you don't have to go into details, but anything else that you're going to be covering?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the first day I'm going to be talking about the 4-part metabolism boosting morning
Mm-hmm.
routine, where I'm going to give you
Love
multiple
it.
things that you can do right in the morning before breakfast that are going to get your metabolism skyrocketing. I'm also going to be talking in detail about the 4-part fat burning food framework and giving you examples of lunches and dinners. And I'm going to be doing a deep dive on spices and herbs that you can add to your breakfast, to your water, and to your tea at night that are going to create fat burning teas that are actually an amazing
Ooh,
replacement to
nice.
wine. They make
Love that.
make your body relax. And so I'm going to tell you the one spice you can add that's not
Mm,
spicy, but you add it to your tea at night,
cool.
and then you add it to your smoothies, and then also your coffee. And it's going to
Mm,
bring down your blood sugar, and it's also going to decrease inflammation, and it's going to burn more calories than even a 20-minute walk. I'm going to be talking about those things. And then also how to get off sugar. I'm going to show you multiple ways that you can combine your foods so that you bring your blood sugar down, but you're still eating your favorite foods, and what to add so you can keep your blood sugar down. So if you want to eat chocolate cake, if you want to eat French fries, if you want to eat pizza, I'll show you what to pair it with so that you will naturally bring your blood sugar down, and you also won't want to eat as much of that. So for these numbers of reasons, it's going to feel so easy to get your metabolism high and start burning more fat. And so yeah, I'll talk all about this at the 5-day metabolism boost for midlife women. And yes, we have that link down below. So I would be so excited for those of you listening and watching to check that out. And I will be there live. So definitely say hi in the comments when you're there.
love it. That's very good. Any other strategies at all for just dealing with alcohol? Let's say you want to consume an alcohol, wine, a drink. Is there any other strategies or tips that you have that will help with women in this hormonal kind of category where the blood sugar and their hormones won't get exacerbated by the alcohol?
Yes. So, women in midlife, you might be feeling that you're having different effects of alcohol now than you were
Mhm.
before. There's a lot of women that it doesn't help, it doesn't feel as good anymore, but yet you still want to have some drinks. So one thing is really to start looking at other low sugar alcohol drinks versus wine. So if wine is making you feel bloated, I want you to be aware if you wake up the next day and you feel like you have a hangover, like you feel like you're bloated, you're tired just because you had 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Well, let's look at switching it for actually a cocktail. Like I recommend working on drinking low sugar cocktails with alcohols like that are clear alcohols. So vodka and tequila is actually the best, and gin. Having that with a club soda and a splash of juice is a really, really great way to have that alcohol, but it's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's not going to make you feel as bloated as wine would. And then in
Mhm.
addition to that, about 1 to 10 minutes before you're having a drink, there's a couple things that you can do. Number one, I call it delay the drink. So there's a delay the drink strategy, which means have 2 glasses of water before your first drink. And that's because you're hydrating your body. So it's hard to remember to do that after you start drinking. So if you do it before you've hydrated your body's more ready to take on the alcohol that you're going to give it. And if you really want to amp it up, add in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into your water right before you
Mm,
have wine, alcohol, or any desserts. And it very quickly brings down your blood sugar. So it helps to counteract any sugar that you're giving yourself. And so it's really going to help you manage that so that you're not storing fat as you're drinking that drink or having that dessert. So having 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, just mixing it in. You could either mix it into your water. You could put it into, any type of like coffee or tea if you want to do that. But doing that, and you're going to see that your blood sugar is going to go down. So that's kind of a hack. And then also, I recommend, if you want to have alcohol or wine, that's fine. But if you want to find a replacement for it, drinking something like a cinnamon tea or a turmeric tea at night is very relaxing to our bodies, and it's not going to give us that mental kind of feeling like we're going down low the next morning. So having even a turmeric tea bag or getting a cinnamon tea bag or making a fresh tea, you're going to feel really, really comforted and like you're taking care of yourself, but you really are taking care of yourself because those natural herbs and spices are going to work with your body and help you feel really relaxed. And they lower inflammation and lower blood sugar as well.
That's great. Excellent. And it's natural for women too, especially if they're that kind of menopausal time frame and their hormones aren't dialed in. It's natural to start actually craving red wine because of the polyphenols do kind of modulate some of the estrogen receptor sites and help provide a bump in estrogen. So if your hormones are off, you may be just naturally gravitating towards red wine to bump up your hormones. And so that there may be other ways you want to naturally bump it up outside of going to the wine because there's other issues on that front. So that may be a craving thing in the background. So get your estrogen balance other ways that'll help. Also, people don't realize, but alcohol actually lowers blood sugar, right? While your body's detoxifying the alcohol, it actually lowers blood sugar, and that can actually cause more cravings. So when you go out to eat and you have your wine first, that's where you start to over-order bread and pretzels or other more carby stuff. And so I always tell patients, have your protein out of the gate because the one that kind of time releases the alcohol and it prevents that big drop in blood sugar. When your blood sugar drops hard, that's where you start to overeat. When you want the desserts, you want the more carby and processed stuff, and that gives you more control of your appetite.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And I know that many people who drink will experience that, where you just feel like you have goals, but then you kind of lose control. But if you feed yourself first and start with that protein, absolutely, you're going to just keep yourself more stable. So see, the thing about this is that sometimes it can feel really frustrating, or you don't know what else you can do. And sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, my body's not meant to lose weight, or I'm not meant to get over sugar cravings. I was just born like this. But it's actually not about that at all. It's more about just understanding the combinations, what to add, these strategies and even hacks to just know how we're eating. And I can tell you, you will see results. You will boost your metabolism. You will burn fat, even if you haven't been doing it through anything else, because this is more of a strategic way to lose weight. And more of like people like that are listening. I know you're smart people. This is the smart person's way to really understand your metabolism and lose fat in a healthy way.
100%. Most people's metabolism drives them, meaning it's their cravings, their hormonal imbalances. They're reaching for this, they're reaching for that. Their lifestyle's driven by the hormones versus our lifestyle driving our hormones, our lifestyle driving our metabolism. So we want to, we want to be in the driver's seat on this, not be a victim to our cravings and to all of our natural instincts, right? So I think that's great. So guys, you want to dive in, free 5-day boot camp. We'll put a link down below, justinhealth.com/metabolism or boost. Make sure I get the rank right. Metabolism-boost. Put the link right below. It's going to be a wealth of information. So really appreciate everything, Nagina. Anything else you want to leave us today? Any other links or access points to people to reach out to you?
I think that's a really great place to start, is to join the 5-day Metabolism Boost. And, you will get so much just valuable free information. And from there, I'll share more ways that we can get in touch. But I've just been it's been such a great conversation, breaking down the science, breaking down the myths, and talking about really easy, quick additions. One thing I'll leave people with is, one more kind of easy thing that you can do. And I talked about this slightly today, but I want to give a little more emphasis to that. And that is to start to boost your metabolism with one simple thing in your morning, and that's to add cinnamon to your coffee or to your tea,
Yep.
because it's giving you the sweetness that you get from
Yes.
sugar or artificial sweeteners, but in such a healthier way, and it's actually lowering your blood sugar, and you are going to have your sweet cravings taken care of by cinnamon. And so it's something that I have every single morning. It's actually the first step that I took on my 40-pound weight loss, because I loved my coffee and I wanted to have artificial sweeteners. And for so many reasons, those are actually not good for us. It's not only about calories, there's other things. So when you're using cinnamon, that was the first step for me to be able to make all the other changes that we talked about today. So if you are listening to us still, I want to just say great job, and take that hack, because we left it till the end. The best things are at the end, and you can get started there. And you're going to start to see, okay, now your cravings are going down. Now you can add your protein more breakfast after that. Naturally, the other steps will take place.
Love it. Excellent, Nagina. Very good. Link down below, justinhealth.com/metabolism-boost. Thank you, Nagina, for being on today's podcast. Really excited for the summit. You guys take care.
Thank you. Thank you.